So what I want to do today, I want a quick video on focusing on our new hook baits. You know what I mean? For a long time, I've been playing about with method feeder hook baits, or for method feeders, hybrid feeders, pellet feeders, whatever. And I've always felt there was something missing. You know what I mean? We seem to be in a wafter world at the minute, where everyone's got an obsession with using wafters for everything. And without doubt, while they're a phenomenal hook bait using a wafter on the hook, I still think they've got to be used in the right circumstances. I think there's quite a few applications sort of or ways of fishing where a wafter just might not be quite right and things can be done in a better way, which is why we come up, or why we've been playing about quite a bit recently with a sinking dumbbell sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? A really heavy wafter. Do you know what I mean? A wafter that doesn't waft, a boilie that stays on the bottom. Because me thinking behind things is quite simple. When using wafters, that they're great when you can fish the kit that keeps them in the right place. I mean, for me, fishing's all about the footprint that I've talked about for years. Putting your pile in and making sure your bait is right over the top of that pile. Because if I'm completely honest, I believe that when method feeder, hybrid feeder type fishing, I often think that 50% at least of the time, a fish eats your bait by accident. It doesn't actually focus on your hook bait. You want it to come down and eat that pile. I mean, it's eating the entire pile and it's taking your hook bait in with it, which we proved in the past by catching fish without hook bait on. And as long as your hook bait's on that pile, you get a bite. The problems leading to it, we're coming to wafters, is that if they're not fished with the correct diameter of hook length and weight of hook, that quite often, as we're going to show you in a minute, they do not stay over that pile. You know what I mean? They have a tendency, especially when fishing heavier hook lengths, so as soon as they're released within your pellets, they spring off your hook bait. They'll spring off your pile, so your pile of pellets or ground bait, whatever your pile is. So you end up with a hook bait away from your pile, which in certain situations, it's completely wrong. I mean, it's pretty much like feeding in one area, putting your hook bait in another. It's not giving you the most or highest percentage of bites when a fish is coming over to your feed. So in turn, what I want to do is produce these heavy hook baits that allow me to always be presenting my bait right over the top. Yeah, so when I'm using smaller, lighter gauge hooks, which for the style of fishing I do a lot of the time for Carrassios, small F1s, little carp, even skimmers, the last thing I want is my hook bait to be whizzing away from my pile. I want to be sat right over the top of that pile and give myself the best chance of, when only a few fish are coming into my peg, of getting a bite. So that's what these heavy hook baits are going to do. They allow me to fish a much lighter gauge of hook, so I can use a nice medium gauge of hook. I can drop down to 0.16, 0.15 even hook length, which is suitable for the size of fish I'm catching, and I'm not limited to fishing really, really heavy hooks, which I've been forced to do with wafters just to keep my wafter in place. I mean, don't get me wrong, wafters are a phenomenal hook bait for allowing the fish to suck it in, and they go in so wonderfully. I mean, it's why they work so well, is because they go into the fish. But so they do definitely have their downfalls, and what I want to go through is the three different ways I think, or show you three different hook baits, hook lengths and feeders breaking down, just to show you the three ways that they break down and what you're looking for to get the best out of whatever situation you've got. So what I want to go through quickly is what I believe, or explain in a bit more detail what I think are the right ways and the wrong ways of fishing a wafter or a heavy hook bait. So first up, I want to talk about the correct way, what I feel, or the important things to employ when trying to fish a wafter in the right way. So, because the issue with wafters, like I say, is that they don't want to stay where you put them. I mean, they're very difficult unless you're using the right terminal tackle to keep on top of your pile, which for me, I think it's in most situations, other than catching lots of tiny fish, I think keeping your bait right over the top of your pile, it's vital. Do you know what I mean? It's without doubt cost you fish if your boilie, hook bait, whatever, isn't right over the top of your pile of micro pellets. So with a wafter, you have to do a few things to keep it right in the right place, where you want it. And for me, that's using big, heavy hooks. I mean, without the use of a big, heavy, do you know what I mean, a bit of anchorage with your hook, it doesn't keep your wafter where you want it, and it can be very difficult to keep in place. So for me, the right way of fishing a wafter is using great big size 10, 12, do you know what I mean, big hooks with a lot of weight to them, with a decent medium to heavy gauge, just so you got that anchorage. Do you know what I mean? It's vital. I've tried a few things in the past. I've tried putting shots on my hook length and, do you know what I mean, messing about, which has worked to a degree. But if I'm completely honest, the best way of presenting it, or the best way of using it, is in conjunction with big heavy hooks. And unfortunately, that leads to it being a little bit incorrect if you're fishing for smaller species. I mean, the last thing I want to use is a big size 12 or even 10 hook if I'm fishing for skimmers and F1s and, you know what I mean, smaller fish. So it just leads me to believe that wafters aren't quite right in a few situations. But so as it'll hopefully show in the tank, by using a big heavy hook, you'll see how it works lovely in anchoring my bait, keeping it over that pile and giving me the best chance of a bite when I'm using it in the right situation. So second up is the wrong way. Do you know what I mean? The problem that I want to just demonstrate quickly in the wrong way of fishing the wafter. You know what I mean? Or the problems that occur when you've not got that anchorage. So you'll see from what we're doing in the tank with this one, that as soon as the hook bait becomes sort of released, when there's no pellets entrapping it and holding it in place, and it's just sat on top of a pile, the bait's very, very reluctant to stay on that pile. You know what I mean? Because of the stiffness in the hook length material that you're forced to use because you're fishing a method. I mean, you're always going to be fishing, I mean, I'd say 0.16 and above. It's very rare you're going to drop any lighter than that. Because of the stiffness of that material, I mean, it also exaggerates the bait wanting to spring out. And without the anchorage of a heavy hook, we've got a much smaller, much lighter gauge hook in this case. It springs out really easily, and it's not over the top of the pile, which for me, it's not the correct type of presentation that I'm looking for. So, and then finally, so almost just to fix that situation that's occurring with the wafter, I mean, for me, it's many occasions when I'm fishing for my F1s, my skimmers, small carp, when I just want to be a bit more refined. I still want to use a smaller hook. I want to use a size 16, often a medium gauge, something a bit lighter that gets me a few more bites. And the heavy hook bait allows that to stay in place. I mean, I can fish the lightest hook I could possibly want. You know what I mean? The hook's never going to have any importance in keeping my bait in place. With such a heavy hook bait on, as these heavy sinking dumbbells, they stay in place and they give me much more of a chance of getting a bite because they're always right on top of my pile. So if there's only a few fish coming into my peg, they're going to go straight on top of that pile, eat my bait by accident or on purpose, who knows, because it's always going to be in the what I'd call an optimum position to get a bite. But definitely, with having the two different ways of fishing, I mean, the two different forms of presentation with the two different types of hook bait, I mean, it makes my method feeder fishing with different hook baits or using boilies very, very versatile and gives me a better chance of getting a bite on them tricky days when there's not many fish feeding. All right, so with the new hook bait, again, I want to keep things as simple as possible. I'm very much a no faff when it comes to my fishing. So the first thing I want to have a little play with is flavours. I mean, whether this makes a huge difference, I'm still massively, I wouldn't say sceptical, but I need more hard evidence to completely get me down the flavour route. But what I just want something nice that I don't feel it's ever affecting me from catching fish. I mean, it smells nice, it stands out more than any other plain hook bait, so it gives me that 1 or 2% chance of a fish having it because of the flavour. Nextly, the colours, and again, I'm a weird one when it comes to colours. Yeah, I'm a lot more focused in on using different colours to get a bite. I think it makes a lot more difference than flavours. But for me, I like things that blend in. So we went with a simple range of colours. Firstly, I want me brown, because I like everything to blend in, look the same. But also, I do believe that it's a confidence thing for not just myself. Obviously, we've got to hopefully sell it to the masses. And we all like our different colours. I mean, a lot of my mates are very, very fond of the orange colour, yellows as well. I mean, it's all, when it comes down to colour, I believe having a range that you can mess about with on the day definitely makes a difference. I mean, from all the carp videos we've watched in the past, there's definitely days when they'll pick out a colour that stands out as opposed to a colour that blends in. So having a little range of colours gives me that option, and at the same time what I want is to have people have confidence in the hook bait of their choice. Just it gives you that little bit more in making you believe that that tip's going to go around if you've got a colour hook bait that you think they're going to fish, you're going to eat, that you've got a bit of confidence in. So yeah, we kept things nice and simple in the range. In just 4 different colours. That gives me the option to mess about, but at the same time, I mean, I want a no-nonsense bait that does the job that I want it to do, and ultimately hopefully catches me some more fish.